I'm very distracted by the world, and it's hard to speak to you today. The easiest thing is to throw one's hands up, call 2020 a dumpster fire, and take a weekend getaway to an Airbnb in the woods in Michigan, but that doesn't change the volume of the alarms blaring in my ears. I'm distracted. I'm distracted by how cavalierly we've just collectively decided to live with a virus that will soon have killed 200,000 people in a matter of months in America alone. I'm distracted by wildfires turning the skies in the west into an orange gauze and making the air badder to breathe than we have means to measure. I'm distracted by learning every day just how soaked to the bone this country is in its hatred of black people, and I'm distracted by how thoughtlessly most white people in this country have accepted that truth, who proclaim that they would kill for their children, but think a broken window for a black man's death is a bridge too far. I'm distracted. Right now, I don't want to write. I want to use my energy to tend to myself and my small body, to attend to the very specific work of staying alive in America in 2020. In the midst of all this distraction, I've been teaching. In my Zoom classroom, a fellow teacher gave my students a writing prompt, and it went like this: Do you know the circumstances of your birth? And if so, what are they? Here's the part where I was going to tell you the circumstances of my birth, but as I held my fingers over my keyboard, I couldn't bring myself to type. So instead, this is now the part where I don't tell you the whole story. I just skip to the point of the story, and the point of the story is that I almost died being born because of an error made by a previous obstetrician who had attended my mother. I thought I'd tell this story because it had always been part of my personal mythology, but recently I've been wondering about the parts of my origin story that my mother never told me. When you become aware that Serena Williams had to save her own life when doctors ignored her after giving birth to her daughter, when you become aware that half of white medical trainees believe black patients feel less pain than white patients, when you become aware black people experience almost 4 times more pregnancy-related deaths than white people, you start to feel like maybe that time you, black, almost died while being brought into the world by your mother, also black, wasn't just a thing that happened, but was part of an American legacy that doesn't care about you, your mother's pain, or whether you live or die. So, I decided not to tell the whole story because when you tell your story, you give a part of yourself to the people receiving it. And these days, with police stations rightfully on fire, I don't feel inclined to share myself with anyone but myself. In 2020, I have learned many things. When I think of Breonna Taylor and Sandra Bland and Rekia Boyd, when I think of Angela Davis and Stacey Abrams and Breen Newsom and Lady A, when I think of Harriet Tubman, who is one of the only true American heroes, one thing becomes very clear to me, and that is that this world, as it is, does not deserve black women. I no longer wish to give of myself or my story in a land that proves century after century how willing it is to consume me, but never to honor me. This is the part where I become self-conscious that maybe all of this is kind of a bummer and not the kind of entertainment you were hoping for. And there was a time when maybe I would have thrown something funny right here to lighten the mood and keep you engaged. But in addition to being distracted by the world lately, I've also been having a hard time caring if I'm making people uncomfortable when I'm talking about these things. Maybe I would like you to be uncomfortable. Maybe I know that the only time people make any kind of needed change is when they're uncomfortable. This world does not deserve black women. And honestly, I don't know if anyone but the black people watching this even deserve this piece of myself. And by the way, if you're white and you're not used to having your black friends be this honest with you, I hate to break it to you, but you don't actually have black friends. You just have black people who you know. So, now that we're all having fun, consider that 2020 actually isn't a dumpster fire. Consider that 2020 is here to help us see through the assimilated, hypnotic matrix of our lives. Consider the idea that 2020 is here to reveal the depth of the toxicity of our national culture. Consider that we are no longer asymptomatic. Consider that we never have been. Consider, like I have been, releasing all the assumptions that have led us collectively to this moment. The word corona is derived from the Latin word for crown. Virus comes from the Latin virus, meaning poison. Poison crown. In America, we are exalted. We are the best at everything. America, land where I was born and continue to breathe, despite America's best intentions. I've been thinking a lot about what it means to consciously allow thousands upon thousands of people to die from a virus that we could totally control if we wanted to. I wonder if I'm the only one who noticed that people really chilled out about the virus once we heard that it was hitting Black and brown people the hardest. I've been thinking a lot about our poison crown and what it's actually made of. Uneasy lies the head.